Hey Jesse, how are you?
Hey Jesse, how you doing? Good. I know that Kim and Rich are coming in. Mike won't be here, so how about Ron Gates?
It's joining virtually.
Fred McDonald. Kim, the report that Watson, the SBR, prepared for the board.
Mhm.
Thing that was supposed to be discussed with them in these upcoming meetings here. We we probably should circulate that to our board.
Okay.
I'm sure you get the final version, but we ought to circulate that. Yes, it's probably on the website for the city, isn't it? Or for the district.
Probably not yet.
Not yet?
Not till after the meeting on the 22nd.
Oh. But there's a work session too before then.
I don't think there's a work session on this
Oh, really?
before
Well,
that.
it may not be.
I think it's a finance session.
Somebody, right?
Mm-hmm. We have a full quorum, Chairman.
Not everybody actually have one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, folks, I guess we can, we've got a quorum, present. And it's 4 o'clock, so we'll commence our meeting. I welcome Sean Farr. I think it's your first time in person, isn't it? Yeah. We've checked you out on the website a little bit. He's the new chief financial officer for the district, and he's now a member of our board. So it's good to have you. Thank you. The first item of business before the board is the approval of the minutes of the previous meeting, November 14th. They were circulated to you in the packet that Kim provided to everyone. Are there any comments or questions about those minutes? Seeing or hearing none, I'll accept a motion to approve them.
This is Rich Perrin, I'll move it.
And I heard a second there, didn't I?
You
Yeah.
did, Chairman?
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Again, any opposed? Hearing none, they'll stand approved as submitted. The action items we have in front of us today relate to the requisitions. And Kim Jones, do you want to address those?
Yep. So the disbursements for November include the following. $3,416 to Bond, Shonik and King. $14,084 to Occasional Elegance. $5,085.13 to Savin Engineers. $49.30 to the Daily Record. $14,100 to Trinity Ventures Engineering. And $142,117.04 to Watts Architecture and Engineering. Total disbursements, $178,851.47. Are there any questions? Okay, if not, I'll move it to the board for full approval.
Okay, it's been word. I'll accept a second.
A second.
Any other questions or comments about the requisitions for this month? Seeing none, then all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Hearing and seeing none, they will stand approved. Thank you, Kim.
Yeah.
That gets us into a discussion of several non-action items. The fund balance report, Kim Mitchell. You want to sort of walk us through that?
Certainly, Chairman Richards. Get it a little larger there. Overall fund balance. We decreased the payments by the pay requisition from last month. And that was deducted from the district-wide technology 2B. And there were no other changes to the fund balance accounts, which brought the tentative amount in the cash capital account to $5,866,446. The loan balance for the phase 3 planning and transition stands at $658,700 prior to the pay requisitions for this month. Open contract balances, we have Bond, Shonik and King, Freed Maxick, Savin Engineers PC, Bond, Shonik and King again for our legal at East, and Canon Design for a total of $423,588.49. This current pay requisition is for Bond, Shonik and King at $3,416, Savin Engineers $5,085.13, and the Daily Record at $49.30. Those will come out of the program bond funds at $8,550.43. For the RCSD loan, phase 3, you have 3 vendors being paid from that: Trinity Ventures Engineering, Occasional Elegance, and Watts Engineering, for a total of $170,301.04. That leaves a fund balance of $377,000 for the RJSCB fund balance. Program restricted at $5,284,049. Settlement funds balance at $205,421, with a total program balance of $5,866,496, and an RCSD loan down to $488,399. Does anyone have any questions?
We're sticking with this format, so hopefully people get an appreciation for where all of them are. Obviously, one of the things we're going to have to keep track of is really 2 things that come out of this. One I'll discuss later. We formally allocate these buckets of money. Some will be extinguished in phase two, and go back and pay down whatever outstanding debt can be made in that. And some will be available for phase three. Even though there is more money available from phase two, it can't be used for the phase three expenses. So we will eventually run through the original $1 million allocation as we get closer to getting comprehensive plan fund. And we're going to talk in the latter part of the meeting about phase three and, you know, how we think our do that. But for now, we're in good shape. Including closing out some of these things that are outstanding. One of them is the claim that's pending against the architect and engineer for East. That negotiation continues, but we're comfortable that we're covered if, you know, whatever happens, all the money happens there. Okay, questions or comments on this? Thank you, Kim Mitchell. The other document that's been provided to you in the packet that was sent is the final diversity report. We had a report on that from Anshin at the last meeting. This is just the final document that they've finished and completed. And it contains information about both phase one and phase two in terms of the MBE program. We've also attached to it a description of the business opportunities program and the revolving loan program and its use in this program, because both of those programs were separate from the ancient IC. Be useful for increasing the MBA, and you'll see that in those documents. I'm happy to answer any questions about it, but I wasn't planning on spending any more time on it since we went through it in some detail in the last meeting. Okay. One other document, so I don't forget about it. The last document in the packet here is called the Overview of Building and Maximum Cost Allowance. I stuck that in there just for your information, because we keep talking about it all the time. And as though everybody, you know, assuming everybody knows what that is and how it works. But for other purposes, one of the people in the in the Watts program wrote this up, and I thought it was useful for people to read and understand it if you have any questions about it. It's not intended for anything else, and there will not be a test. So be it. Okay, where are we with respect to the plan itself? The plan I'm talking about now is the plan for phase three, which is required by the statute. The work being done by SWBR and Watts has resulted in a report that will go to the school board this month at their meeting, and hopefully will result in their actually officially selecting the schools to be renovated. That work has been completed, and it has been preliminarily discussed already with the board. So hopefully that will be will take place in December. And Tim will work on giving each of you guys a copy of the report that went in. Will go into the board. It lists the schools and gives some of the technical support for why those schools have been selected. And then, in addition to that, the demographic study for the district has been completed. So that's also going to go to the board this month. That report has to support, or at least be consistent with the plan that's being offered, and I believe that it will be. But you know, there are lots of issues in the demographics of the district, all of which do not have to be resolved, fortunately, in the facilities modernization program. But if they're going to propose these schools, they do need to have some demographic support for why these schools, in terms of where the kids are, what grade levels they're in, that kind of stuff. And some of that is also behind the effort that went to it. The other thing that went behind the effort so far has been, two things. One of them is a physical, attempt to see what schools work or can be made to work with respect to the plan that the district now has on grade allocation, which creates junior high schools, and that's new. So there's this physical fit that architects and engineers went through to make sure that these schools can be in there. And the second part of it is a rough calculation of what it is that it will cost to renovate those schools and modernize them. That is done on sort of general principles. It's not done on a detailed effort yet. But obviously, they need to have some sense of, sense of the order of magnitude that this program makes sense, because we've only got allocated, the $470 million, and that's it. So they've done that preliminary work. There's going to be a great deal more to do in that regard, but at least gives us a preliminary proposal to go forward. That's the first part of the plan. There's some other aspects of the plan that we discussed already, and I'll discuss with you. I think the part of this that is important to us is how much of this effort with respect to the plan can we keep going, things stop while we shift to the project manager function. So in order to accommodate that as best we can, we've asked Watts, SWBR and Watts, if there's some elements of the plan that they can doing now, so that we don't have any dead time here, and we can keep it going. And the other side of it is we have a fair amount of expertise in them now because they spent all this time. Some of that's going to have to do with what SED finds necessary. In other words, whether the work that's been done to date will be adequate as a base for the plan or not. And if not, what we have to do, what they have to do to get that done. So what we're going to get, and we'll be presenting to you at the next board meeting, is a proposal from SWBR about what additional work they can do to keep this plan moving. That may have some impact, not right away, but will ultimately have some impact on the amount of funds that we have available. And we'll have to have to deal with that at the same time. But the second thing that raises the stuff we've already talked about, and that is that we very much need to get going here in terms of getting the project manager in place, the ICO in place. The ICO, the independent compliance officer, is responsible for providing the diversity support, and that's got to be part of the eventual plan. And then the financial advisor, which will be how we take the cost structure, fit it into the bond program, and get the controller to sign off on it. The fear there is that we have sort of we have a cliff rather than a nice gradual. In other words, we don't have anything. We're not ready. We're not ready. We're not ready. We're ready. And wind up missing the opportunity. We're already in trouble in terms of getting any construction done next year. That really was a victim of the delay that had already occurred. I'm not willing to totally give up on that. I think there may be some places where we can do some things. Particularly say at a place like East, where we're not going to be moving the kids. So it may be possible to do some work there. But the bulk of it, what we're trying to save now is make sure that we're in a process of kicking this thing off in 2024 in a major way. I'd like to think we could do better, and maybe we will, but we got to be honest with ourselves about where we really are, because in order to get that done. Remember, these are all public projects, all require public bidding. They all require the kind of process that we've talked about. And I expect that there will be another wrench in the plan. In other words, the preliminary calculations of the cost structure that were done once we get into the detailed part of this necessary to sustain the financing, there's gonna have to be some more adjustments. I don't think it's realistic to expect that to be final numbers. It would be true anyway with respect to working on these older buildings, but it's sure true this year with all the inflation. You know, we're chasing the number here. That's gonna have an impact on what we can do. So, you guys remember that we did have the RFP prepared and ready to go for the program manager, and it's kind of drifted around. And we haven't been able to really get a response with respect to whether we can go forward or not. So I'm gonna propose that we just go forward. In other words, I'm gonna propose that we, write a letter to the school board and copy everybody who needs to know and say, this is what we're gonna do. We don't technically need anybody's permission to go out with an RFP. We need all kinds of people's permission to hire anybody. And you know, we'll have to deal with that. But what I'm trying to do there is sort of shift the burden of proof here, so we can keep going, because I feel very strongly that we don't act on these things, it's gonna be a problem here in 6 months or so. And then people don't even look at us and say, why didn't you do something about this? So in order to sort of force the issue, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna ask you to authorize us to go ahead and say, we're gonna do it. And when I say do it, I mean, we're gonna put the RFP on the street. And I can't see any reason not to do that at the present time. You know, considering that it's gonna take several months to finish that process. And then probably several months more before we get it approved by everybody. So, we just need to blast ahead, as best we can. And really, we should be getting the ICO proposal out right after it without waiting, and the same thing true with the financial advisor. Financial advisor may be a little easier because I'm thinking that we're gonna be able to ride on the coattails of the city. It doesn't make any sense, quite frankly, for us to have a bond advisor that's different from the city. It's their credit we're ultimately monkeying around with here. So that selection process hopefully won't be quite as complicated. And it's a much more straightforward function. It's not, it's not anywhere near as complicated, for instance, in the project management. So that's one thing. And we're gonna need to, I'm gonna ask you here in a couple minutes to authorize that today, authorize us to go ahead with these items today. And then, we will do it. And we'll see what that produces. The other thing that and in the interim, this period of time between when we go out and when we finally get someone selected, we'll try to get as much work done by SWBR and Watts as is practical, and it doesn't waste time, just to keep the thing moving. And there are some such things, clearly. Point number 2, we do need to decide how this money is going to get allocated here. And this is the money on Kim Mitchell's report that she just went over with you. What's available to us in phase 3 and what's not, so that we can wind this up and also so we know where we stand. So I'm going to make a proposal on that as well, and then I'll share it with you. We don't need to approve that here today. I think that's probably a better way to go than to wait for someone, to express to analyze this. If they can analyze it with a proposal in hand, I think it's better. Otherwise, we sort of get stuck here, nobody wanting to start. It's not a problem. There's plenty of money, and what's clear is that some of this money clearly needs to go back into phase 2, and there's no debate about it. And so the debate is really around the edges. And I'll put a proposal on the table for that for your consideration. Well, that's not today's problem. So that's kind of where we are. Anybody have any questions or comments about it? I know that when I presented this, because I'm a little frustrated, as you can tell, about not getting this moving, but to be fair to this process, actually, it has gone pretty well. The district has been much more engaged in this than they were in the past. That was one of the levels. They've really worked very closely with the consultants. And so the plan that goes to the board for final approval really is the plan that the district, at least the district administration, came up with. It's their plan, which is what it's supposed to be. And they have worked at it, you know, so I don't want to make it sound as though this is a bad situation. Actually, it's a better situation than we probably were in the past. And you know, it's their decision to make. They're the ones who have to live with this. We're largely an implementer here when we finally get to the point of doing some implementation. But I think that, to be fair to them, I think that they've, you know, they've tried to take responsibility for it and have worked on it. So, and have made at least one and actually two presentations to the school board about it. So there's a reason to believe that the board is ready to act. And that's, you know, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. Okay. So, other questions or comments about it? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to propose to the board, I'm going to move, make a motion, to the board, that we proceed with issuing the RFPs for the program manager and the ICO. The financial advisor we'll deal with a little later when we, you know, see what the situation is at the city and maybe just negotiate directly with. So that's a motion that I'm making. I need a second for it. And second. And before you have to redo the RFP over again, right? Any other questions or comments? Hearing any?
Good.
Seeing or hearing none, then all those in favor say aye or raise your hand. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you very much. Hopefully that'll get us moving here, folks. We are ready to go with the program manager RFP, and the other one will not take too much time because we can use one that was used in the past. It's pretty straightforward, but it's important we get it done. Important. I don't have any other items of business to come before us, but I'm happy to entertain any that we might be in the assembled group here. So we'll, in terms of what you will receive, you'll get, and you know, I will get to you a proposal on how we deal with the money. You know, we'll deal with that in the next couple of weeks. You'll get a copy of the proposal that goes to the board, school board in this case, with the final selections of schools. And that will be acted on this month. And if that's acted on this month, then that's a major step. Major step in going forward. There are some details with respect to it that will have to be ironed out with SCB and others, but at least getting a proposal on the table is a big step, I think. Okay. There are no any further business to come before us? Hearing or seeing none? You'll stand adjourned. Folks.
Thanks. Happy holidays, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.